You can listen to The Professional Left wherever you get your podcasts, on Netroots Radio, or at our website, proleftpod.com, where you can also contribute to this podcast. There's a PayPal button at our website, where you can mail us a letter and or contribution at P.O. Box 9133, Springfield, Illinois, 62791.
This is the podcast for the week of January 16th, 2026. It's not safe for work.
Recorded live from the Cornfield Resistance, where sometimes it's best to stand back and let Jared Moskowitz cook.
By the way, the head of the Oath Keepers is here with us in the audience. Stuart Rhodes is here today. It's not every day, of course. Not every day, of course, you get to meet someone who was convicted of seditious conspiracy against the United States. Hasn't happened in 30 years. Of course, sitting in the front row in the reserved section, which is controlled by my colleagues across the aisle. Not sure why he's here. I don't know if he's here to tell us about the Oath Keepers' secret handshake or what treehouse they meet in or whether girls are allowed in. I've always wondered that about the Oath Keepers. But yeah, he's here. I mean, I don't know. You have any questions, my colleagues across the aisle, for the head of the Oath Keepers that's sitting in the reserved section of this hearing? I mean, he wasn't pardoned. He's still convicted of seditious conspiracy. Something you guys say didn't happen, right? If there wasn't an insurrection, I don't know how you get convicted of seditious conspiracy.
It's The Professional Left with Driftglass and Blue Gal.
Now, we're going to start off with some sad news that I know many of you may have heard already. Mm-hmm. My dad passed away last Friday, January 9th. He had been in hospice. He had cancer. Fuck cancer, by the way. Mm-hmm. And I just want to thank everybody for kind words, words of support. You guys have been great. And, it was his time. My kids are dealing with it as well as can be expected. They will really miss their grumps. I'm so glad that as, young adults, they got to know their grandpa.
Yeah.
And I know he loved them like crazy.
Yeah, I know that my sister had a different relationship with my grandfather than I did because she's 7 years older than me.
Yeah.
So she was sort of a youngish adult when they were kids, and I was just a little boy. So it's great that they got to know their grumps as young adults and really hit it off with them as a grown up. Yeah. And
so that's pretty much all I have to say about him, except he was an artist, and so many things have happened this week. I know this happens a lot when you're thinking about someone all the time and missing them, that everything that comes across your desk reminds you of him. But it really has been a lot of weird coincidences. And, all of a sudden there's this, particularly around the 23rd Psalm, which I read on my knitting podcast on Sunday. Mm-hmm. In honor of my dad, who used that first verse, "The Lord is my shepherd." He wasn't a particularly religious person, but he used that first verse of the 23rd Psalm, "The Lord is my shepherd," when he was driving through blizzards in northwestern Pennsylvania, where we lived. Mm-hmm. And so I read the 23rd Psalm, and then the next day there's a Bible lesson that I listened to, and there was the 23rd Psalm in the Bible lesson. And, and then a New Yorker cartoon. I'm going through papers on my desk, and I'd printed out this New Yorker cartoon, months and months ago, and it pulls up, and it's one that reminded me of my dad. And it's just kind of on and on and on. And the reason I printed it out was that it reminded me of my dad. So it was just kind of over and over again, all these kind of reminders pop up and make me feel like, like I told one friend who did not know that he had passed. And she said, "How's your dad doing?" And I said, "He's great. He died last Friday."
He's better now. Yeah.
Better now. He's not in pain, not in hospice. My sisters and I agree. First thing he did was go to the bar and get a rye old fashioned and light up a cigarette up there in heaven. So, and then he went to see my mom after. So,
And my dad passed away long ago. He passed away the day before Christmas Eve in 1993, and under very unfortunate circumstances, which I won't go into, but they were pretty awful. And he and I had a problematic relationship. My dad had a lot of flaws. He tried to do better than his parents did, which is all you can really ask of any parent. But I've always been grateful that I was getting a great father-in-law out of this marriage.
Yeah, out of our marriage. Yeah,
a really terrific father-in-law. Yeah, and he was first a little bit wary of me, as you might expect. Yeah, he
out and out threatened you at a dinner where the two younger kids were there, and he asked both of them, "Is he treating you all right?
Is he treating okay? Is he doing okay?" And I was on trial, and he very protective of his daughter, who he loved dearly, and his grandkids.
And it was so funny because after that, they both came up to him and said, "Is Grandpa mad at Driftglass?" No.
Grandpa's doing what?
He's busting his chops.
Yeah, and I busted him right back after a little while later, a few months later.
Yeah.
Eventually, we got to know each other. A Renaissance man, a man of many talents. He recites the preamble to the Canterbury Tales in Old English, in High English.
Yeah.
Knew all about art, it was curious. It was curious about everything until the day he died. Was just reading constantly and enjoying himself, and a great artist. And we were both men of Chicago. Mm-hmm. So eventually we hit it off. We hit it off really well. I got a really nice, lovely dad vibe from him that I hadn't really felt in a very long time. And
you were his son. I mean, he didn't have any boys. So you were the one who he could do the puzzle with and talk about Chicago and talk about literature.
Yeah.
And mystery stories and so forth. And I
would understand. I would understand what he's talking about.
Have radio voices. You know, everybody says, you marry your dad. It's like, well, I got to tell you.
80%, 70%.
80%. I married my dad 80% in this sense.
A great good man, and had a glorious shock of hair until the day he died.
Way more hair than you have had lately.
Yeah. I asked him, in your will, just leave me your hair.
Yeah. He had thick hair. He
really did. Great guy. Really great guy.
Yeah.
Anyway,
thank you again for everybody for your kind wishes. And so many people have been going through this lately. Hal Sparks and has done a lot of shows about losing his dad, and that's been very helpful to me. Yeah. And so, I just want to thank all of you for your kindnesses. There's also some housekeeping. I mentioned this briefly on Bob Seska yesterday. Some housekeeping that we expect will not seriously affect our podcast schedule going forward. I'm taking a pay cut and leaving Crooks and Liars, where I have worked part-time for 18 years, for a day job. I'm going to be working Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, for about half the pay, but with health insurance. Yeah. And you guys know that my health insurance bill for me and youngest child who's in college went up to $2,561 a month. Mm-hmm. And that's not sustainable. And then, as I applied for work and looked at the benefits and so forth, I went and realized I was paying almost $700 a month with subsidies. Yep. And I'm exhausted. I'm just exhausted by the amount it costs to try to be independent of a day job and pay for health insurance. It's just too much. Yeah. And so just as a brief aside, one of the things that was supposed to be one of the benefits of the ACA before Republicans took a meat axe to it was portability. Yeah. You could start your own business. You could leave the job you hate and take your healthcare with you, and it would be affordable wherever you went. No preconditions, nothing like that. Yep. Right. And when you axe off parts of it, as a whole, it worked, keeping everyone covered so that there was a large pool, so that there were healthy people supporting that pool. And now we have only people who absolutely have to have health insurance or they'll die. Mm-hmm. And, that's unsustainable, just unsustainable. And I can't wait for Congress to do something about it anymore. And I'm just not going to, because there's the lack of justice in this. Mm-hmm. I'm over it. So, as I said, I'm taking a pay cut, and it's about half the pay as I was making at Crooks and Liars working a half day. Yep. Hourly rate is about half. And that said, I'm not paying $25.61 a month for health insurance. So
Yep.
I also want at this point to thank a small number of very generous souls who provided absolute over-the-top donations over the holidays so that I could afford to pay for health insurance in January and until this job kicks in. Yeah, I will be starting work full-time in February.
Mm-hmm.
And I am going to let Carolee, who is my work partner at Crooks and Liars, speak for me on the emotional end of things. This is Carolee on her podcast called Momocrats, and I have been on Momocrats before.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very good podcast. She was on this week talking about what happened, how I came to have to leave Crooks and Liars. And so here is Carolee on Momocrats.
Let's think about living. Let's think about loving. Let's think about the hooping and the hopping and the bopping and the loving, lovey-dovey. Let's forget about the whine and the crying, the shooting and the dying, and the fellow with a switchblade knife. Let's think about living. Let's think about life.
The Professional Left podcast is produced and recorded under a Creative Commons license. Copyright DGBG Productions. ProLeftPod.com. And the only other thing I have to report is that, yes, Driftglass and I finally tuned in and are watching Pluribus.
Yes. Yes, we did. And we're enjoying it thoroughly. And we might do, a lot more extensive spoilers and stuff because, that's who we are. We haven't done a science fiction university in a while. And
no, we haven't. That's
considering
true.
Our new schedule, that might be a way to do something on Tuesday that isn't quite as research intensive.
Yeah. But, the way we've been doing this podcast for the past 16 years has been pretty organic. We are, both of us, all day, every day, earlobe deep in politics.
Yeah.
And we just would talk back and forth during the day about what's going on in the world, what I'm writing about at Crooks and Liars, what you're writing about at Driftglass, and me editing Crooks and Liars and so forth. And then on Tuesdays and Thursdays, that's just been sort of a formalizing of what our conversation is all week.
Right. That's right. And
so starting in just a matter of weeks, I won't be knee-deep in the news cycle hourly anymore. I'll be 9 to 5ing it at my day job, which is not political.
Right.
And Driftglass will be here doing the prep work, researching the subjects. I'm sure we'll have, pillow talk. When I come home and collapse in the pillow and say, what happened today? Well, Trump did this. Oh, great. Good night.
Mm-hmm.
But he's going to have to, step up Driftglass and write about, do the notes as you always do and decide on topics. And I'm sure I'll have some input on that. But it is going to be a little different.
Yes, it is. And you want to know how it's going to be different? It's going to be all David Brooks all the time, baby.
No, it's not.
Okay, it's going to be mostly David Brooks most of the time, baby. Okay, there'll be a mention every now and then, as there will be towards the end of this podcast, about something extraordinarily bad that rises above the usual.
I also observed, yes. It wasn't just Driftglass. This is not Driftglass.
No.
Ruminating, right?
No. Like I do.
We realize that this situation isn't optimal. Our household income is going to take a hit, but Republican fuckery has claimed a victim here. Yeah. And I'm not playing the victim in terms of feeling bad for myself. I'm grateful that I'm able to work. I'm grateful that I live in an area where there are jobs that I could take. And, as you can tell from our doing this for 16 years, Driftglass and I are not afraid of hard work.
No.
And long hours. We do this.
You would be shocked to know what time it is right now.
Yeah. So, and that's because the only reason we're recording so late is because you were on Brad today.
Yep.
So Brad Friedman's show. So, we are still going to be podcasting twice a week, every week. New episodes will be dropping, in the evening. I can promise you that. And as always, we are truly grateful for you continuing to stick with us and listen to us and supporting our show.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
Yeah, that's terribly important. And now over to a middle-aged white guy from Minneapolis who has never protested anything before.
This is nuts. This is fucking, yeah, and you're right in the middle of this shit. What the fuck is going on, dude? This is insane.
Have you ever gone out to these sort of things before?
Never. I've never protested in my life. My brother's here. He does it all the time. I've never. Yeah. Like I said, I'm far enough away, but close enough, and I sit in my cushy house and look at shit and get mad, and they're just trying to fucking scare people, and, you know, but why shoot people? You know what really pisses me off is the fact that they detain people, cuff them, and then still beat the shit out of them. They tell you it's immigrants, only immigrants. It's fucking anybody. I have friends that got detained, and all they were doing was fucking driving home from work. What the fuck?
Sounds like you don't fit the definition of the...
No, and I'm not fucking paid to be here like everybody fucking says. What the fuck is that? I gotta work in the goddamn morning, just like everybody else. I'm just here trying to stand up for community, dude. We're all human beings here. I don't give a shit who you are, where you came from, what color you are. It doesn't fucking matter. This is wrong.
Yeah, this is very bad. The fascists are losing the disinterested white dude vote. I think that's what you told me.
That's what I told you on Blue Sky. Oh, yeah, my God, Driftglass.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
The guy who's never protested before is cursing a blue streak.
Yeah, and at protests.
At a protest.
Yeah. You got him off the sideline. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Which is probably why Trump is trying very, very hard to give the MAGA meatheads something to say about the murder of Renee Good that will take the edge off the fucking bitch comment made by ICE goon Jonathan Ross moments after he murdered her.
Nothing's going to take the edge off of that.
Well, no,
particularly for women.
But he's trying to give MAGA people something
to
say, something else to say besides that.
Yeah.
Of course, while at the same time he has to stand behind the fire hose of obvious lies that everyone in his administration began spreading before Mrs. Good's body was even cold.
Yep. This is from The Guardian. Quote, Trump says Renee Good probably a wonderful person, but her actions were pretty tough. Donald Trump has defended his administration's increasingly violent immigration crackdown, which that's not what it is, but that's what they say.
Exactly.
Describing the 37-year-old woman killed by federal agents as likely a wonderful person whose tough actions justified a lethal response. Trump's comments made during an interview with CBS News after touring a Ford plant in Dearborn, Michigan, came as tensions continue to rise in Minneapolis days after an immigration and customs enforcement agent fatally shot Renee Good at the wheel of her SUV on a residential street last week. The administration characterized the incident as an act of domestic terrorism, accusing Good of being a professional agitator. Video evidence and local officials have sharply contested that narrative. Jacob Fry, the Minneapolis mayor, described the killing as a reckless use of power and told ICE to get the fuck out of Minneapolis. The administration has responded by expanding its enforcement operation in the Twin Cities, part of a broader immigration crackdown that has targeted Minnesota's Somali community. Meanwhile, the Justice Department has signaled it will not open a criminal rights investigation into Good's death, a sharp break from historical precedent. The administration has also moved to block state investigators from accessing evidence, asserting that Minnesota has no jurisdiction over the killing of its own citizen by a federal agent, unquote.
Yeah. But of course, you know who the DOJ is investigating, right, Blue Gal? Yeah, this is from the New York fucking Times. Quote, 6 prosecutors quit over push to investigate ICE shooting victim's widow, unquote. It's
all a show for Fox. It's just all a show for Fox.
It's utterly, the grieving widow is the person they're going to go after. They're going after. So why are they doing this?
They have to find bad things about her so that they can make this a conspiracy against the ICE agent.
Right. That's where we're going with this podcast. Yep. Which is, answering the question, why are they doing this? Why was the immediate reaction of these ghouls to go after the grieving widow of the woman they just murdered? For the same reason, the fascist reaction to 2,000 ICE thugs they already have running wild in the streets of Minneapolis was to send another 800 ICE goons to make things worse.
For the same reason, Trump announced yesterday, quote, if the corrupt politicians of Minnesota don't obey the law and stop the professional agitators and insurrectionists from attacking the patriots of ICE who are only trying to do their job, I will institute the Insurrection Act, all caps. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President DJT, unquote.
And it's for the same reason they use lawsuits and threats to bring CBS to heel and install a Trump-friendly puppet like Barry Weiss to run the place. These are all the lies that MAGA goons have been hearing on hate radio and Fox News for decades, and that the legacy media, let's be very clear, has aggressively ignored. This is all this coming to fruition. For just a moment, we're going to ask you to put yourself in the headspace of the average MAGA idiot. Because before hate radio and Fox News, you might have been listening to Bob Grant or Joe Pine or read Westbrook's Pegler or some of the trash that the early Regnery press was cranking out. But after Reagan killed the Fairness Doctrine in 1987, Rush Limbaugh almost immediately went national in 1988. So you, MAGA persons, have been sopping up conservative media for nearly 40 fucking years. It's why you wept and cheered when Trump awarded Limbaugh the Presidential Medal of Freedom during the State of the Union address in the year 2020.
So you've been soaking in right-wing media all that time, and over the voices you trusted have told you the same lies over and over again, 1,000,000 times. Everything about your life that sucks is because of a massive liberal conspiracy against you, and everyone is in on it. Minorities, immigrants, women who won't sleep with you, the liberal media, colleges, and of course, liberals themselves. Mm-hmm. They're baby-killing commies who hate America. They're basically all domestic terrorists. In fact, during the Iraq War, which you would much rather forget, every voice you heard on the right told you over and over again that the left was secretly in league with the terrorists.
That's right. And if listeners, you lived through that, you know exactly what we're talking about. Because then comes the greatest mystery of your MAGA life. Based on all the terrible things you've been told about the liberal conspiracy, you've voted Republicans into office election after election. Republicans who went on your favorite programs and talked to your favorite people and agreed with them that the terrible liberal conspiracy was destroying America. Heck, you even remember this from the Associated Press from June 1992, from the previous century, Blue Gal. Quote, talk show host Limbaugh invited to White House. Bill Clinton and Ross Perot may be near regulars on television shows and call-in shows, but President Bush still has a few tricks up his sleeve when it comes to talk show relations. Last week, he had Rush Limbaugh, the conservative radio talk show host, to dinner at the White House and put him up for the evening in the Lincoln bedroom. Bush even carried Limbaugh's bag, despite a vigorous protest from the burly radio man. It was a thrill, said Limbaugh in a telephone interview from his New York studios. The Lincoln bedroom, that's for people like Winston Churchill, unquote.
And yet, election after election, the Republicans who took your money and your vote and promised to destroy the liberal conspiracy did nothing. I mean, it's an irrefutable fact that Barack Hussein Obama was a communist sleeper cell who wasn't even born here. Obama spent 8 years destroying America. And yet, Republicans never even impeached him, not once, Driftglass.
Not even once.
Has there ever been a greater betrayal? I mean, think of all those vacations in Hawaii that he took.
All in history, has there ever been a greater betrayal, Blue Gal? I don't think so. No.
As Shakespeare wrote in Hamlet, Act 3, Scene 2, it out-Herods Herod. Except the wingnuts are imagining have never seen Hamlet.
No.
They'll never see Hamlet, Driftglass.
No.
And they think anyone who sees Hamlet is super gay, Driftglass.
Yes.
Then along comes Trump, who has also never seen Hamlet.
No.
And now Trump is running always on the Vote for Pedro platform.
If you vote for me, all of your wildest dreams will come true.
Or to be more accurate, the Vote for Pedo platform.
Vote for Pedo.
And what Trump and his henchmen are doing is exactly that. They're in the process of actualizing or materializing all the lies the MAGA meatheads believe to be true. Since immigrants are destroying America, ICE is not merely justified in everything they do. They're patriots in the front lines of the war to take America back, Blue Gal.
Yeah, since Renee Good was a domestic terrorist. I can't even say it. A domestic terrorist who not only stood in the way of these patriots doing their duty, blah, 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 blah.
Blah, 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 blah. And since Renee Good was a domestic terrorist and agitator, and obviously part of the liberal conspiracy, it just makes sense to go after her co-conspirators, starting with her very disrespectful lesbian partner, Blue Gal. It only makes sense. It's only logical.
And since this liberal domestic terrorist conspiracy is duping more and more people into believing that ICE patriots are the baddies, it only makes sense to flood Minneapolis with nearly 1,000 more ICE patriots and warn the liberal politicians that if they don't come down hard on these liberal domestic terrorists, Trump will have no choice but to invoke the Insurrection Act.
And you know who one of the villains is behind the liberal conspiracy is the liberal media, Blue Gal. And since the only reason the liberal domestic terrorist conspiracy is able to dupe people into believing their lies is that the liberal media is part of the conspiracy. That's why the Trump regime has to come down really hard on the liberal media. They have to soothe them into silence. They have to defund PBS and NPR. They have to gut commie propaganda like Stars and Stripes magazine.
Yeah.
No kidding.
That's so commie, that Stars and Stripes, but they are. Thank goodness Donald Trump's tamping down on that communism.
Pete Hegseth is on the job, Blue Gal. It's why this has happened. This is from the Associated Press, October 22nd, 2025. You probably already know about this, but it's part of the pattern. Quote, after others departed, Pentagon announced new press corps filled with conservative news outlets. Several conservative news outlets said Wednesday they had agreed to a new press policy rejected by virtually all legacy media organizations and will take their place in the Pentagon to cover Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and the U.S. military. The new Pentagon press corps will include the Gateway Pundit, the stupidest man on the internet.
Jim Hoft. Oh my gosh.
The National Pulse, Human Events, podcaster Tim Pool, who's got to make up that missing Russian money somehow.
Missing Russian $100,000 a week.
Or his side piece will leave him.
Uh-huh.
Just the News website founded by journalist, oh man, is that stretching that word beyond the breaking point, John Solomon. Frontlines by Turning Point USA. And, of course, Lindell TV, run by MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell. The Pentagon's announcement came less than a week after dozens of reporters from outlets like the New York Times, the Associated Press, CNN, and the Washington Post turned in their access badges rather than agree to a policy the journalists say will restrict them from covering news approved by Hegseth, unquote.
And it's why this happened from Salon December 5th, 2025. Quote, Trump is dragging the White House press corps into the gutter. I guess the barrage of lies and insults aren't enough. Now Trump wants the media's complete submission. Never forget, each and every week, Donald Trump gets worse. His regime is a ladder into a bottomless pit, a place that, as Hunter S. Thompson once said of journalism, is a cruel and shallow money trench, a long plastic hallway where thieves and pimps run free, and good men die like dogs. In the latest round of professional malfeasance, the president's sycophants in the communications office have launched a media bias portal on the official White House website. They are encouraging people to give them tips when the public believes a member of the press has produced fake news. Naturally, and this is the Salon writer writing, naturally, I took the opportunity to fill out the page and offer to the White House a tip that its own communication staff is publishing fake news. I wonder how long I'll be waiting for a response, unquote.
Yeah, all lies, all the time, every day. And it's also why this happened. This is from the New York fucking Times yesterday. Quote, FBI agents searched the home of a Washington Post reporter on Wednesday as part of an investigation into a government contractor's handling of classified material, a significant escalation in the Trump administration's tactics in seeking information from the news media. It is exceedingly rare, even in investigations of classified disclosures, for federal agents to search a reporter's home. A 1980 law generally bars such warrants from reporters' work materials unless the reporters themselves are suspected of committing a crime related to the materials. Washington Post reporter Hannah Nathanson has spent the past year covering the Trump administration's efforts to fire federal workers and redirect much of the workforce towards enforcing his agenda. Many of those employees shared their anger with her, frustration, and fear that the administration's changes. Pardon me, let me state that again. Many of those employees shared with her their anger, frustration, and fear with the administration's changes, unquote. And it's worthy of note that it took Bezos' paid editorial staff at the Washington Post almost an entire day to come up with a response to this violation of their own reporters' First Amendment rights.
Yeah. Ben Bradley, it's not.
No, not even close. Not even close.
Remember, the MAGA morons' belief in a massive, all-encompassing liberal conspiracy is the lie that has shaped their entire lives. The central organizing principle of their political beliefs, the scaffolding that holds up all the smaller, idiotic conspiracy theories they all believe. And Trump's promise to break up the imaginary liberal conspiracy is the reason they have remained dog loyal to an openly corrupt, degenerate, lying lunatic. Why facts about prices of meat and groceries just bounce off of them. It's why they're immune to reason, because their lives are going to get better as soon as the liberal conspiracy is destroyed, Driftglass.
As soon as Emmanuel Goldstein is tracked down, Blue Gal, and killed,
instantly,
then
the sun will rise. Yes.
Oceana will win that war finally.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's why back in July this happened from ABC News. Quote, days after President Donald Trump posted an AI-generated fake video showing former President Barack Obama's arrest on his social media platform, the current president pushed conspiracy theories about Obama in the Oval Office on Tuesday, accusing him of treason without providing evidence regarding the 2016 presidential election. That was like a one-day story.
Yeah. Yeah. The president of the United States accusing the former president with no evidence at all because he's a fucking liar, of treason from the Oval Office.
Yeah. They tried to rig the election and they got caught. And there should be very severe consequences for that. That's just pure projection. But Trump told reporters on Tuesday, unquote, one-day story.
Yeah. And it's why this happened just this week. From ABC News, quote, House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer said on Wednesday the panel plans to move forward with contempt of Congress proceedings against former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton after she defied a subpoena for a deposition as part of the panel's probe into convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. It comes a day after Comer, a Republican, said the committee plans to hold former President Bill Clinton in contempt of Congress as well after he refused to appear for a scheduled deposition. Comer said the committee will vote next Wednesday on whether to hold the Clintons in contempt of Congress, unquote.
It's why they're coming for the Fed chair, Jerome Powell. It's why they're coming for everyone who isn't them. It's why the America First No More Wars mopes are all in on the conquest of Venezuela, because to them, that's not a war at all. Because, damn it, that's our oil and our hemisphere. We're just taking back what was stolen from us.
Yeah, just doing the right thing. Just like in Minnesota. That's all they're doing is doing the right thing to save America.
No, but Fox News was all day today saying, this isn't happening in Texas and Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you don't have 2,000 ICE agents invading. Can you imagine if Obama sent 2,000 ICE agents to Texas? They'd all be dead.
Right. I think I try not to get tripped up in the idea of hypocrisy and what if Obama did it.
Yeah, I know.
Because
I know we don't play that game.
Well, anymore. it's because their brains aren't wired that way. They just don't see it. They don't see it. If they do it, it's okay. If we do it, it's not. Yeah. If their cult believes anything they do, including murdering innocent citizens on the street in front of cameras, it either never happened or is fully justified. And you can't reason with these people because they're not really people anymore. They're reprogrammable meatbags.
35 to 38%, that Sarah Palin floor is just gone.
Yeah, they're gone. And you can't reason with them. You can take them out of public life. You can make sure they never get near power ever again. But you can't reason with them. And they're going to be this way till the day they die. There just isn't any way to pretend otherwise anymore. But there is a giant glitch in the Matrix. And that glitch is the Epstein Files, Blue Gal. Because one of the main pillars of the giant liberal conspiracy myth has been that liberals are running a global pedophile ring. And that Trump dragging those malefactors into the light and tossing them in jail was an integral part of the takedown of the giant liberal conspiracy, except as is now painfully clear to everyone except everyone except the MAGA morons by now. Trump is one of those malefactors. He's one of the worst of those malefactors, which is why this is happening. This is from the Democracy Docket. Quote, in November, Congress passed and President Donald Trump signed into law, I would add, under extreme duress, signed into law, knowing he was going to break that law immediately anyway, legislation mandating the Department of Justice to publicly release all of the files it has on convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein by late December. Remember, this is a guy who could marshal thousands of FBI agents to redact shit, so he has an unlimited workforce to do this work if he wants to. More than 2 weeks past the deadline, the DOJ has released less than 1% of the Epstein documents, and it will continue to be in violation of the law for the foreseeable future, according to a new letter the department had sent a New York-based federal judge Monday. In the letter, Jay Clayton, a top federal prosecutor in the Southern District of New York, said the department has so far published only 12,285 documents, and that more than 2 million documents remain unreleased in various phases of review and redaction, unquote.
Since the Trump regime cannot afford to release the Epstein Files, because Trump's in them, and since refusing and stalling and lying about it threatens to irreparably break faith with the MAGA cult, the regime needs to double down on every other grotesque abuse of power they can think of. Because invading Minnesota and attacking its primarily white citizens is not only in line with the Trump regime's fascist agenda, they hope it's also loud and violent enough to drown out all of Trump's obvious guilt and broken promises about the Epstein Files. Mm-hmm. They're testing just exactly how reprogrammable their reprogrammable base actually is.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can see.
And one of the things I think is so significant about this, I think I said this on Bob Cesky yesterday, is Fox is not, except under extraordinarily controlled circumstances, Trump is off of Fox.
Yeah.
They are not airing what he says anymore.
Because he's a drooling madman.
Right.
Who says crazy shit all the time.
And they can't clean it up.
And they don't want to get sued again.
Right.
Frankly.
Right.
And as this regime gets more reckless and violent, two groups of Americans are having an increasingly hard time keeping their act together, Blue Gal. The both sides do it liars and the local Republican political parties who still have to worry about getting their crooks and liars elected in the fall. Mm-hmm. If you go now to Google and you type in the words Christine O'Donnell, the first thing that pops up is identifying her as an American politician. And the next thing that pops up is, I am not a witch.
I am not a witch.
Which was one of the great political self-owns in modern American politics. It was fucking genius. Now, take a listen to the first 5 seconds of a video the Sangamon County Republicans, that's where we live, Sangamon County Republicans are running on their Facebook page.
I am not a fascist.
I'm not a racist.
I'm not a cultist.
And I'm definitely not a Nazi.
These smiling, clean-cut actors go on to explain that they're really all about freedom and family and God and love. And if you dig a little bit, you'll find the source of this video is from a MAGA lunatic on social media whose Twitter stream is a nonstop, unending open sewer of all the usual MAGA lies and slanders and horrors.
And just that Sangamon County, you can duplicate that all over the country.
Oh, yeah.
Cook Political Report reported on a change in the political wins, about 18 House seats.
Yeah. Which
are now going from either safe Republican to tie, or I forget what did they toss up? That's what they say.
Right, toss up. Mm-hmm.
Or going from toss up to lean Democratic.
Yeah.
The whole country is flipping.
Yeah. Well, almost the whole country. There's a whole bunch of people who only watch Fox News.
Yeah.
And
the Sarah Palin floor is not budging.
Right.
But that can not hold together a Senate seat if everybody else turns out.
Right. The disinterested white guy.
Yeah. The disinterested who sits at home most of the time. My brother goes out and protests, but I usually don't. Yeah, I've
but
never been
now-
out before. Wow.
Yeah.
Now he's mad as hell.
Mm-hmm.
This is the corner local and state Republican parties have painted themselves into. They cannot separate themselves from Trump because both Trump and the base will never tolerate disloyalty like that.
Mm-hmm.
But all those independents whose votes they also need, also non-voters, people who don't turn out are mad enough to turn out and vote you out of office and are horrified by what Trump's brown shirts are doing in Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
It's bad. And I was not aware. I was too young to be aware of what was going on in Alabama in 1965, 64, whatever.
Yep.
I wasn't old enough to know to what impact that seeing children get fire hosed.
Yeah.
But I imagine what's going on now is very similar.
Yeah. We talked about that on the broadcast today, which is the flip around parallel between the Tim Walz's excellent speech and George Wallace's speech.
Yeah.
Because George Wallace is all about states' rights, defending segregation and Jim Crow through states' rights. And Tim Walz is all about, we like states' rights too, but now the Republicans, now the conservatives want federals to come into the states and murder our citizens and run and brutalize them. And that ain't true. But that's not the way it's supposed to be.
Right.
But we also talked about the fact that all those, what the civil rights movement needed and valued and gambled they would get and did get are news network cameras.
Yep.
From the North coming south to film for a wider audience, children getting fire hosed, men in suits having dogs attack them. And
ironically, CBS News.
Yeah. And these goons, these brown shirts in police hats and billy clubs, just beating the shit out of well-dressed, church-going, polite people who just wanted to vote. And people in the North who either didn't want to know about that or didn't know about it were suddenly horrified that this is going on in my country. This is happening. Wait a minute. Now in this country, this is going on. Yeah. And that's when things started to change. And the same thing is happening, even though CBS is now in the hands of a scumbag like Barry Weiss. Yeah. News is getting around. That the brown
because we have cameras on our phones.
Yes, we do.
And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute.
Yeah.
But yes, they are testing these brown shirts, and Trump and all of them are testing, just how exactly reprogrammable their reprogrammable base actually is.
Yeah. So local and state Republican parties are hurting real bad right now, which is real good for democracy. The other group that's hurting real bad right now is the cult of both sides do it. And so before it disappears down the memory hole, I want to once again point the finger of accusation at PBS NewsHour just last Friday.
I watched this with you, and I don't imagine that you get stunned the way I was stunned.
No.
But I was stunned.
Yeah. It was amazing. Mm-hmm. It was such a brainwashed reaction.
Yep.
It was something like out of the Manchurian Candidate. Mm-hmm. You ask David Brooks what he thinks, and he thinks both sides are the greatest, most noble, kindest thing I've ever seen. He's a fucking robot, and he's been writing the same column, as we pointed out a million times, the same goddamn column over and over again for 24 years.
But he absolutely bent himself into 14 pretzels.
He did.
To not say what he thought of the video of Mrs. Good being shot. He was not going to take a side.
And he clearly researched what he was going to say.
Yeah.
Because he didn't say, I'm not taking a side. He started with, y'all might not remember, but back in 1951, there was this football game that was filmed. And the footage was shown to both teams afterwards. It's like he had to go way the fuck out in the middle of nowhere to find this example to justify what was coming up. And you could see his partner, Jonathan Capehart. I still think if Mark Shields had been there, Mark Shields would have come across the table and slapped the shit out of him. Yeah. But Jonathan Capehart sat there because he wears the PBS leash, and you can't say David Brooks is a lying sack of shit or you won't be invited back next week. So he sat there, eyes bugging out of his head.
Yeah. And almost fist. He almost made a fist. Yes.
How the fuck do you? And then he had to say, well, as a black man in America.
Right.
And then talk about an adjacent subject, but not the subject at hand. The question was very simple. What do you think about this shooting in Minnesota? And Brooks says, well, there was this film in 1951, this football game. And the two teams, the college teams involved, were both shown the film, and each one thought the other one got the breaks from the refs. So everything is political. No matter what you look at, you're always viewing the political lens. All my Trump people in my feed, my Trump friends all saw one thing, but all of my non-Trump friends saw something else. So it's all politics. It's all people just see what they want to see through the lens of their politics. So I, being the man in the middle, being Mr. Both Sides, being Mr. Centrist, Mr. Above it all, and now I'm going to reserve judgment about what I think I saw until I don't know, the DOJ exonerates this asshole and prosecutes the widow or whatever the fuck it was. But it was really peak cult behavior. And I know we've driven this home 100 times already, but I'm going to do 101st, which is there are two cults operating in this country. Mm-hmm. One is the MAGA cult, which is destructive and openly vicious and ruinous and fascistic. But the other cult, which is just as bad in its own way, is the David Brooks cult, and both sides do it.
Yep.
Because no matter what, and I don't need to write anything more about David Brooks because my thesis has been for 20 years I've been writing about it. No matter what atrocity you put in front of David Brooks and make him look at, he will blame both sides or say that both sides are seeing different things and who really knows. This was the test.
Yeah.
And he came through with flying colors. He is exactly the craven, politically vicious, secretly right-wing asshole he has always been. And will always be until the day he dies. The difference is he gets to write for the New York Times and be on PBS.
Paid a lot of money to be on the PBS NewsHour.
PBS, NPR, The Atlantic, New York Times, Schulzberger family pet. He's been there for 22 years, 23 years. And the fruits of that cult of refusing to blame Republicans for what Republicans do is what is happening in Minnesota right now.
Yep. And ending that show after David Brooks lied and said he wasn't going to, you can't believe your eyes because Democrats and Republicans fall under, party lines about how they see this video. So that means nobody knows what the truth is.
Right. Everything's subjective and no one really knows anything.
It's all just subjective.
Mm-hmm.
That PBS show ended with, we have budget cuts and we're ending our weekend coverage.
Right.
They paid David Brooks to be there.
Yep.
And say that shit.
Uh-huh.
And then had to wave goodbye. I mean, this is personal now because Crooks and Liars has to wave goodbye to me because of Republican fuckery.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But guess who gets to keep their job?
Who gets to keep their seat on Friday nights?
And keep their health care. And keep their job at the New York Times. And keep their job at the Atlantic.
And they're never going to be without health insurance.
No.
Not one day.
Nope. Anyway, that's what our podcast will sound like all the time now that I'm in charge of writing the script. It's going to be that all the time.
I don't think so, Driftglass.
No, it won't be. I promise.
We do want to thank Bob Cesca for inviting us on his show once again. And I assure you, Driftglass will continue to be on the Bob Cesca show. It's always a great time. And Driftglass learned that thanks to the exposure of being on Bob's show and Bob putting videos on TikTok and Instagram,
mm-hmm.
total strangers are now diagnosing Driftglass with Trump derangement syndrome.
Yeah.
So he's got that going for him.
Which is awesome. Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
And I also want to thank Brad Friedman and Desi Doyen and Digby at the Bradcast for taking Driftglass off my hands earlier today. I heard him giggling. I was working on show art and putting up the internet kitty and all that stuff in my office. And he was out here in the dining room, just laughing it up with Digby and having a great time.
There's a fierce debate going on now between not debate really, but a discussion, an enthusiastic discussion about whether or not we keep the mic running after the formal radio, because the formal radio show is an actual radio show. So we can't swear.
And you can't swear and you can't go on blah, 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 because Brad has to keep a tight rein on the script on that show.
There's a time limit. There's a schedule.
Yep.
These are the subjects we'd like to talk about today. And, I wander off track a little bit. So does Digby. But we pretty much stick to the schedule. And it's a wonderful show. They're good company in tough times.
Yeah.
But we keep But after the show, there's generally like somewhere between 3 minutes and 2 hours of us just like, can you believe?
Depending on whether he's got another show to record. Right. Yes.
But there's some discussion about let the mic run, clip the rest of that off, and make that a
put it up on Patreon as a paid bonus.
I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you. Because
that's gold.
Digby and Brad and Desi are all very smart people with very deep memories. Well, I'm honored to be amongst the company. Yeah. But we're a very good foursome.
Yeah.
And the conversation.
You crack each other up too.
And it's lively, and we know how each other think, and we've all been around forever. We've all been around since the Bush administration and been writing about shit since the Bush administration. Yeah. So there's a depth of experience there and remembering stuff. And I think it would be wonderful to just crack off that last 30 minutes or so that we're talking anyway and charge people an arm and a leg for it. That's what I think we should do. Monetize the shit out of it. No,
let's do a news roundup.
Yeah, it's about time. Let's do one.
This from Governor Newsom's press office. I am not going to say anything about Governor Newsom's podcast today.
No.
But we'll be getting on that, I'm sure, in the weeks to come.
Yeah.
But Governor Newsom's press office, quote, a pardoned January 6th rioter has been charged with sex crimes against 2 children. Andrew Paul Johnson was arraigned in a Florida court in October on multiple charges, joining a growing list of U.S. Capitol rioters pardoned by President Donald Trump, who now face new legal trouble, Driftglass.
Yeah. This is from Bloomberg News. Quote, Denmark said it still had a fundamental disagreement with the Trump administration over Greenland after talks in Washington. Prior to the meeting, Trump insisted that the United States needs Greenland for the purposes of national security and that anything less than the U.S. control of the territory was unacceptable, unquote.
From the Washington Post, quote, Trump gave an auto worker who called him a pedophile protector the middle finger and twice mouthed, fuck you, while touring a Ford plant in Michigan. The White House called Trump's response appropriate, calling T.J. Sabula a lunatic who was wildly screaming expletives in a complete fit of rage. No, he wasn't.
No.
Called him a pedophile protector.
Which is
and Trump took that personally.
It's 100% accurate. Mm-hmm.
Ford suspended Sabula, who said he had definitely no regrets whatsoever. A GoFundMe campaign titled TJ Sabula is a Patriot has raised for him over $800,000 so far. Unquote.
Yeah. And that story pairs perfectly with Adam Kinzinger on social media playing the tone cop. Quote, Dear Democratic politicians, may I make a humble suggestion? No, nobody wants to hear from you. Stop with the constant use of the F word. Not only is it tacky, it loses its impact when you do it so much. And honestly, it looks forced, like you're trying to be tough, unquote.
From Politico, quote, Jeanine Pirro subpoenaed the Federal Reserve without seeking approval from senior Justice Department officials. Because she's not good at her job, Driftglass.
No, she's very bad at that job.
Nevertheless, the former Fox News hostess, now serving as U.S. Attorney in Washington, said she plans to keep pursuing a criminal probe tied to Chairman Jerome Powell's congressional testimony on headquarters renovation cost overruns.
Which,
unquote. Get back to us about the ballroom, bitch.
Yeah, that's the whole point is that they know that this is just hypocritical nonsense.
Yeah.
It's just Trump's directive that I want all of my enemies, anyone who's ever said a mean word about me,
and I want to appoint a new Fed chair so I can reduce interest rates to zero again, which is going to crash the economy.
Yeah, but it'll crash it after I get credit for the economy.
Yeah.
After the sugar high, then we can move on with other things. But that gets us through the midterms. And then I can,
hopes. Yeah.
Yeah. This is for NPR, January 13th, 2026. Quote, the White House says the Smithsonian Institution must submit materials about current and upcoming exhibitions and events for a review that will determine whether they express improper ideology. Straight up Nazi shit.
Yep.
In an open letter posted online, the White House said Tuesday is the deadline for 8 Smithsonian Institution museums to submit documentation about current and upcoming exhibitions and programs. The letter says the federal funds for the Smithsonian's $1 billion budget depend on the institution fulfilling the terms of an executive order issued by President Trump last March, in which he stipulated the removal of improper ideology in the museum's offerings, unquote.
And from Michelle Goldberg in the New York Times, quote, the resistance libs were right. If people had predicted back in 2024 precisely what Trump's return to the White House was going to look like, Kamala Harris did that.
She sure did.
I suspect they'd have been accused of suffering from Trump derangement syndrome.
Like me, just like me, Blue Gal.
Yeah, just like you, Driftglass.
Yeah.
But the shrillest of resistance libs have always understood Trump better than those who make a show of their dispassion.
Tom Nichols.
As the heterodox writer Leighton Woodhouse put it on X, the hysterical pussy hats were right.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we were.
Yes, we were.
Of course they were. From the moment he descended his golden escalator, Trump's message, the emotional core of his movement, has been textbook fascism, unquote.
Yeah, it's a much longer article, and I've seen a spate of these. You'll never hear it on the Bulwark. You're never going to hear it on in the New York Times. No one's except for in the op-ed column,
except for Michelle Goldberg. Yes,
but you're never going to hear a general agreement among the savvy people that the liberals are actually right, and the liberals have been right for like decades. Yeah. That's never going to happen. But it is.
It's the Georgetown cocktail circuit that's never going to say that. Yeah.
And hearing, like we said on our last podcast, I think last week, hearing Heather Cox Richardson go on a tear about the both sides bullshit has to stop.
Even Heather Cox Richardson recognizes both siderism is bullshit.
Yeah, which is, I found reassuring.
Yes.
Which is great. So there a little bit of sunshine is peeking through the cracks, and I'm always delighted to see it. Don't slather on that SPF 40. Let the sunshine come in and bask in the glow of some people out there realize that knew what we were talking about all along. And just a reminder, a little bit of local news that Darren Bailey is running for governor again. The guy who got his ass kicked all over town and back again by J.B. Pritzker. He's taken another run at it. This is from,
and I know we've mentioned that before, and we're going to mention it again because it is a funny way to end our show.
It is. It is. Like, I'm going to run for governor again. I'm going to do it all over again. I'm going to make every stupid mistake I made before and worse. This is from WCM Community Media Springfield. Quote, Bailey unveils Doge-like blueprint for Illinois. Republican candidate for Governor Darren Bailey is modeling his blueprint for Illinois on the Department of Government Efficiency implemented by President Donald Trump, the very popular Doge program, and Elon Musk, by President Donald Trump and Elon Musk. Bailey announced the plan on Thursday in front of the governor's office at the Illinois State Capitol, along with his running mate, Aaron Del Mar, which I swear should be Aaron Del Mar-a-Lago. Because
it should be. Yeah,
it's just too perfect. Bailey said his plan would uncover wasteful state spending, but would not include massive layoff of state workers. Unquote.
Yeah, they better not. He can't say that in Springfield.
Bullshit. It won't. No, but he's never going to be within. He'll be able to take a tour of the governor's office anytime he wants to, like any other citizen. That is the closest this idiot is ever going to get to the governor's seat in Illinois. Yep. And here's the thing: every Republican in Illinois knows it. Everyone knows it. They know they're fucked.
He's falling on a sword for his party and for his ego. Yes.
Well, I'm seeing people putting up billboards in Mary Miller's district.
Oh, yeah.
And that's like a Republican plus 900.
Yeah.
Because that's where they all, and still people are like, you know what? We got a shot. We might be able to take her down. We got a shot because she's awful. And all the shit that she wants to do and that she talks about, all the horror.
And she can't quit Trump now.
No. And she can't shut up about it.
Yeah.
And guess what? Lash her to the ice goons and watch her sink. That's my advice. Anyway.
Hey, each week we post to our Patreon page and website an Internet Kitty sent in by you, the listeners. We could use it for a few more Internet Kitties, people.
We could.
I'm just saying.
Although we do have one on the back burner that is a new family member.
Oh, yeah. Well, we've had Penelope on as Internet Kitty already.
I know, but Penelope is deserves
is evergreen, huh?
Yes, that's right.
Penelope is middle child's kitty.
Yeah.
But this week's Internet Kitty Driftglass is Fred.
Yeah.
Fred is 15 years old and still getting by on his looks, Driftglass.
Yeah.
Fred avoids large crowds, is 100% loyal and dependable, but he is not a pick-me-up and squeeze-me kitty. He has lots of dignity and love for warm spaces. And of course, Fred Eats Freshly Poured Cat Food, our fake sponsor. Whether you serve pet store perfection or dollar store dreck, your kitty will insist on the privilege that their feline status requires and demand that the food they eat is only freshly poured.
Freshly poured, freshly poured. Oh my Lord, it's freshly poured.
And you can visit Fred. He is a handsome elder cat at our Patreon page, patreon.com/proleftpod, or our website, proleftpod.com. And you can send your internet kitty, dog, or other pet to us at our email address, proleftpodcast@gmail.com, subject line internet kitty. And you can also write to both of us at proleftpodcast@gmail.com. Feel free to write to us. We love hearing from you. Be aware that if you write to us at any of our addresses, we reserve the right to read your email or U.S. Postal Service Go Postal Unions letter on the air unless you say otherwise.
And Blue Gal, as you know, I am also an elder cat who's getting by on my looks. And what sustains me in my golden years, Blue Gal, is our gourmet coffee guideline. If you are able to treat yourself to an espresso-based beverage, we ask that you consider treating us to one as well, because this isn't charity. This is how we support the work we do. And as Blue Gal made it clear, this is how we support the work we do.
Yeah.
If you can spare just $5 a month, we really appreciate it. We'd be very grateful for your support at patreon.com/proleftpod. Or if you prefer, do we have an alternate payment method that people could use?
We have Venmo.
Venmo, I heard good
Venmo
things.
at ProLeftPod. If you look on the Venmo app for at ProLeftPod, it will come up with a picture of the both of us, so you know it's really about the ProLeftPod.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you can just Venmo us. And it's kind of fun when we get those like odd amounts.
Yeah.
Where somebody's been paid for lunch or reimbursed for drinks or whatever, and they go, "Oh, I've got $4.71 in my Venmo. I'm going to send it to the professional left."
Yeah. Excellent.
So, that's kind of a fun way to send us spare change, and it adds up. So thank you for that. Yeah.
It certainly does. And if you know any other people with Trump derangement syndrome, perhaps you would consider sharing our show with them on social media. If you love this podcast, introduce it to a friend, especially one with TDS. Thank you so much for doing that, because it helps keep us going.
Hey, Driftglass, how are the Internet Kitties doing this week?
Well, Blue Gal, the Internet Kitties are so thrilled that Darren Bailey's running for governor again, they almost want to Venmo him $4.12.
Let's think about living. Let's think about loving. Let's think about the hooping and the hopping and the bopping and the loving, lovey-dovey. Let's forget about the whine and the crying, the shooting and the dying, and the fellow with a switchblade knife. Let's think about living. Let's think about life.
The Professional Left podcast is produced and recorded under a Creative Commons license. Copyright DGBG Productions. ProLeftPod.com.